Welcome to Bible in a Year with Scott Purcell. I'm so glad you're joining me. This is a daily reading of portions of the Bible, following a plan that will include the entire Bible in a year. And now, let's open the book and begin our readings. This is the reading for day 177. If your reading is aligned with the calendar year in a non-leap year, this is for June 26th, or in a leap year for June 25th. The Old Testament reading is from 1 Kings chapter 16, beginning with verse 8, through 1 Kings chapter 18, ending with verse 15. 1 Kings 16, 8. In the 26th year of Asa, king of Judah, Elah, the son of Baasha, became king over Israel in Tirzah for 2 years. His servant Zimri, the commander of half of the chariots, conspired against him. Now he had been in Tirzah, drinking himself drunk in the house of Arza, who was over the palace in Tirzah. Zimri came and struck him down and killed him in the 27th year of Asa, king of Judah, and became king in his place. It happened that as soon as he became king, at the moment he sat on his throne, he killed all of the house of Baasha. He left no males among his kindred or any of his friends. So Zimri destroyed all the house of Baasha according to the word of Yahweh, which he spoke against Baasha by the hand of Jehu the prophet, because of all the sins of Baasha and the sins of Elah his son, which they committed, and which they caused Israel to sin by provoking Yahweh the God of Israel with their idols. The remainder of the acts of Elah and all that he did, are they not written in the scroll of the events of the days of the kings of Israel? In the 27th year of Asa king of Judah, Zimri reigned 7 days in Tirzah. Now the army was encamping against Gibbethon, which belonged to the Philistines. The encamping army heard it said, Zimri has conspired, and moreover he has killed the king. So all Israel made Omri, the commander of the army, king over Israel on that day in the camp. Then Omri went up, and all Israel with him from Gibbethon, and they besieged Tirzah. It happened that when Zimri saw that the city was taken, he went to the citadel fortress of the house of the king, and he burnt the house of the king over him with fire so that he died. This happened because of his sin which he committed by doing evil in the eyes of Yahweh, by going the way of Jeroboam, and in his sin which he did by causing Israel to sin. The remainder of the acts of Zimri and his conspiracy which he made, are they not written on the scroll of the events of the days of the kings of Israel? At that time, the people of Israel were divided into 2 parts. Half of the people went after Tibni, the son of Ginath, to make him king, and the other half went after Omri. The people who went after Omri overcame the people who went after Tibni, the son of Ginath, so that he died and Omri became king. In the 31st year of Asa, king of Judah, Omri became king over Israel for 12 years. He reigned in Tirzah 6 years, then bought the hill of Samaria from Shemer for 2 talents of silver, fortified the hill, and called the name of the city Samaria, that he built after Shemer, the owner of the hill. But Omri did evil in the eyes of Yahweh more than all who were before him. He went in all the way of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, and in his sins that he caused Israel to sin, by provoking Yahweh the God of Israel with their idols. The remainder of the acts of Omri that he did, and his powerful deeds, are they not written in the scroll of the events of the days of the kings of Israel? Omri slept with his ancestors, and he was buried in Samaria, and Ahab his son became king in his place. Now Ahab, son of Omri, became king over Israel in the 38th year of Asa, king of Judah. Ahab, son of Omri, reigned over Israel in Samaria 22 years. But Ahab, son of Omri, did evil in the eyes of Yahweh, more than all who were before him. If it wasn't enough that he went after the sins of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, he also took as wife Jezebel, the daughter of Ethbaal, the king of the Sidonians. He went and served Baal and bowed down to him, and he built an altar to Baal in the house of Baal which he had built in Samaria. Ahab also made the sacred pole, and he continued to provoke Yahweh, the God of Israel, more than all the kings of Israel who were before him. In his days, Heel the Bethelite rebuilt Jericho. At the cost of Abiram, his firstborn, he laid its foundation, and at the cost of Segub, his younger sibling, he set up its gates, according to the word of Yahweh, which he spoke by the hand of Joshua, the son of Nun. 1 Kings 17. Elijah the Tishbite, from Tishbe of Gilead, said to Ahab, As Yahweh lives, the God of Israel before whom I stand, there shall surely not be dew nor rain these years, except by my command. Then the word of Yahweh came to him, saying, Go from this place, and turn to the east. You must hide yourself in the Wadi Kerith, which faces the Jordan. It shall be that you shall drink from the wadi, and I have commanded the crows to sustain you there. So he went and did according to the word of Yahweh. He went and stayed in the Wadi Kerith, which faces the Jordan. The crows were bringing bread and meat in the morning for him, and bread and meat in the evening, and he drank from the wadi. It happened after a while that the wadi dried up, because there was no rain in the land. Then the word of Yahweh came to him, saying, Get up and go to Zarephath, which belongs to Sidon, and stay there. Look, I have commanded a woman there, a widow, to sustain you. So he arose and went to Zarephath, and came to the gate of the city. There was a widow woman gathering wood, so he called to her, and he said, Please bring a little water for me in a vessel so that I can drink. She went to fetch it, and he called to her and said, Please bring me a morsel of bread in your hand. She said, As Yahweh your God lives, surely I do not have a cake, but only a handful of flour in the jar and a little olive oil in the jug. Here I am gathering a few pieces of wood, and I will go and prepare it for me and my son, that we might eat it and die. Elijah said to her, Don't be afraid. Go and do according to your word. Only make for me a small bread cake from it first, and bring it out to me. Make it for yourself and for your son afterward. For thus says Yahweh, the God of Israel, The jar of flour will not be emptied, and the jug of olive oil will not run out until the day Yahweh gives rain on the surface of the earth. So she went and did according to the word of Elijah. Then both she and he ate with her household for many days. The jar of flour was not emptied, and the jug of olive oil did not run out, according to the word of Yahweh, which he spoke by the hand of Elijah. It happened after these things that the son of the woman, the mistress of the house, became ill. And his illness was very severe, until there was no breath left in him. She said to Elijah, What do you have against me, O man of God, that you have come to me to make known my guilt and to cause my son to die? Then he said to her, Give me your son. He took him from her lap and carried him up to the upper room where he was staying, and he laid him on his bed. Then he called to Yahweh and said, O Yahweh my God, are you also causing evil to come upon the widow with whom I am dwelling as an alien, by causing her son to die? He stretched himself out on the child 3 times and called to Yahweh and said, O Yahweh my God, please let the life of this child return within him. Yahweh listened to the voice of Elijah, and the life of the child returned within him, and he lived. Elijah then took the child and brought him down from the upper room to the house and gave him to his mother. Elijah said, "Look, your son is alive." Then the woman said to Elijah, "Now this I know, that you are a man of God, and the word of Yahweh in your mouth is true." 1 Kings chapter 18. It happened many days later that the word of Yahweh came to Elijah in the 3rd year, saying, "Go, present yourself to Ahab, so that I may give rain on the surface of the earth." So Elijah went to present himself to Ahab. Now the famine was severe in Samaria. Ahab summoned Obadiah, who was over the house. Now Obadiah was fearing Yahweh greatly. It had happened that when Jezebel killed the prophets of Yahweh, Obadiah took 100 prophets and hid them by 50s in the cave and sustained them with food and water. Ahab said to Obadiah, "Go through the land to all the springs of water and to all the wadis. Perhaps we may find green grass, that we may keep horses and mules alive, and that we might not lose any of the animals." So they divided the land for themselves in order to pass through it. Ahab went one way by himself, and Obadiah went another way by himself. It happened that Obadiah was on the way, and suddenly Elijah was there to meet him. When he recognized him, he fell on his face and said, "Is this you, my lord Elijah?" He said to him, "I am. Go, say to your lord, Elijah is here." He said, "How have I sinned that you are giving your servant into the hand of Ahab to kill me? As Yahweh your God lives, surely there is not a nation or a kingdom to which my Lord has not sent me to seek you. If they would say, 'He is not here,' then he would make the kingdom or the nation swear that it could not find you. Now you are saying, 'Go say to your Lord, Elijah is here'? And it will happen that I will go from you, and the Spirit of Yahweh will carry you up to where I do not know. Then I will come to tell Ahab, but he will not find you, and then he will kill me, even though your servant has feared Yahweh from my youth. Has it not been told to my Lord what I did when Jezebel killed the prophets of Yahweh? I hid 100 men of the prophets of Yahweh by 50s in the cave, and I sustained them with food and water. Now you are saying, 'Go, say to your Lord, Elijah is here,' and he will kill me." Elijah said, "As Yahweh of hosts lives, before whom I stand, I will certainly show myself to him today." The New Testament reading is from Acts chapter 17, from verse 1 through verse 21. Acts 17. Now after they traveled through Amphipolis and Apollonia, they came to Thessalonica, where there was a synagogue of the Jews. And as was his custom, Paul went in to them, and on 3 Sabbath days he discussed with them from the Scriptures, explaining and demonstrating that it was necessary for the Christ to suffer and to rise from the dead, and saying, "This Jesus, who I am proclaiming to you, is the Christ." And some of them were persuaded and joined Paul and Silas, and also a large number of God-fearing Greeks, and not a few of the prominent women. But the Jews were filled with jealousy, and taking along some worthless men from the rabble in the marketplace and forming a mob, threw the city into an uproar. And attacking Jason's house, they were looking for them to bring them out to the popular assembly. And when they did not find them, they dragged Jason and some brothers before the city officials, shouting, "These people who have stirred up trouble throughout the world have come here also, whom Jason has entertained as guests. And these people are all acting contrary to the decrees of Caesar, saying that there is another king, Jesus. And they threw the crowd into confusion, and the city officials who heard these things. And after taking money as security from Jason and the rest, they released them. Now the brothers sent away both Paul and Silas at once during the night to Berea. They went into the synagogue of the Jews when they arrived. Now these were more open-minded than those in Thessalonica. They accepted the message with all eagerness, examining the Scriptures every day to see if these things were so. Therefore, many of them believed, and not a few of the prominent Greek women and men. And when the Jews from Thessalonica found out that the message of God had been proclaimed by Paul in Berea also, they came there too, inciting and stirring up the crowds. So then the brothers sent Paul away at once to go to the sea, and both Silas and Timothy remained there. And those who conducted Paul brought him as far as Athens. And after receiving an order for Silas and Timothy that they should come to him as soon as possible, they went away. Now, while Paul was waiting for them in Athens, his spirit was provoked within him when he observed the city was full of idols. So he was discussing in the synagogue with the Jews and the God-fearing Gentiles, and in the marketplace every day with those who happened to be there. And even some of the Epicurean and Stoic philosophers were conversing with him, and some were saying, "What does this babbler want to say?" But others said, "He appears to be a proclaimer of foreign deities," because he was proclaiming the good news about Jesus and the resurrection. And they took hold of him and brought him to the Areopagus, saying, "May we learn what is this new teaching being proclaimed by you? For you are bringing some astonishing things to our ears. Therefore, we want to know what these things mean." Now, all the Athenians and the foreigners who stayed there used to spend their time in nothing else than telling something or listening to something new. The wisdom literature reading is from Psalm 78, from verse 9 through verse 16. Psalm 78, 9. The sons of Ephraim, armed with archers, turned back on the day of battle. They did not keep the covenant of God and refused to go in his law. They also forgot his deeds and his wonders that he had shown them. In front of their ancestors he did a wonder, in the land of Egypt, in the region of Zoan. He split the sea and caused them to go over, and he caused waters to stand like a heap. And he led them with the cloud by day, and all night with a fiery light. He caused rocks to split in the wilderness, and provided drink abundantly as from the depths. And he brought streams out of the rock, and caused water to flow down like rivers. This concludes the reading for day 177. Thank you for listening. These daily readings are made possible by your generous support of the global outreach ministry of Scott Purcell. To partner with us and enable this work and others like it, please visit huttobible.com/give and select Go Pastor Support from the fund list. You can also sign up for ministry updates at scott-purcell.epistle.org/subscribe. Both of those links can be found in the podcast description. Thank you for helping us share God's Word.